Hello again, Mike Brown back with you, and we're going to talk a little bit about multiple choice questions. I know, you're sitting there going, Mike, I've done that a lot. Because all of us in our academic careers face off against any ridiculous number of multiple choice questions. Between midterms and finals, not to mention standardized exams, yeah, there's no shortage of multiple choice. And the CPA exam decided to join the club. But I wanted to share some specific strategies that you may find useful when tackling multiple choice questions that you'll face on the CPA exam specifically. Now, what I mean by that is strategies that you've honed over the years for tackling multiple choice questions, for breaking them down, for basically saying, well, I know that answer doesn't make sense. Bring them all with you. They're going to work here too. But there are some specific things that are a bit more unique to the CPA exam that I want you to be aware of. So, what's the first one? Well, I want you to always start with the call of the question, sometimes called the question stem. The CPA exam is notorious for creating a multiple choice that is incredibly wordy, has tons of information, particularly calculation questions may give you all kinds of figures and facts, and famously, they won't all matter. A lot of times the examiners will try to bog you down with details that are irrelevant to the question. What you want to be able to do is filter that stuff out the first time you read it. Immediately set it to the side. In order to do that, you have to know, well, what is the question actually asking? Take a look at this one, for example. We could start from the beginning and we could get bogged immediately down in the various numbers and figures and dates and so forth, but it's far better to read the last part of the question first. And in particular, there are two critical pieces of information. One is that this one, which is a statement of cash flows question, is focusing in on investing activities. That means any other information that relates to operating or financing is now irrelevant, and we can immediately dismiss it. Second, it mentions year one. Now, I don't know, having not read the rest of the question yet, but if they happen to give information about what's going to happen in year two or is happening in year two, I don't care. I'm worried about year one. The idea is that call the question going to allow you to immediately narrow your focus and be able now, as you read the remainder of the question, to dismiss extraneous information. That will gain you precious seconds. It may not make a huge difference. You might even wonder, honestly, how many seconds could this save? But saving a few seconds per question adds up in a hurry on the CPA exam. And every second you can save and squirrel away is going to benefit you. All right, second, this one may seem obvious. I want you to review all four answer choices. And you may say, well, yeah, it's multiple choice. Of course I'm going to review all four answer choices. The clock can really push you where you don't want to go because all it does is count down. So there's going to be that part of your brain that's paying attention to that clock and says, we're running out of time. We're not going to have enough time to finish. And so when you read A, and A sounds awfully good, your brain's going to be screaming at you, just pick A, just pick A. Would you go on, please? Pick A. And you may even be tempted to do it. Say, A sounds right. What's critical here is to remember, they don't grade based on, quote, correct answers. It's based on best. And this is a classic example here in this question. They frame it with, which situation is most likely? When I see a phrase like that, I think, oh, well, then if they really wanted to make this an ugly question, all four answers potentially could give rise to the assessment, or at least possible. I've got to find the one that best fits, that is most likely. So I'm going to be weighing, is this answer better or is this answer better? I can't do that and not do it properly unless I spend the time to read all four answer choices. So even if you feel that strong push to pick the answer without reading all four, take those few seconds. That's time well spent. Heck, hopefully those few seconds you save from my previous point in terms of going to the call of the question can now allow you to feel comfortable to say, hey, I've got those few seconds now that I can read all four answer choices. Third, this one's easy. Answer them all. Whenever you complete a testlet on the CPA exam, if you haven't answered all the questions, you'll get this warning. It'll say, hey, you've skipped one or more. That should never happen. There is no downside to answering a question, even if it's a complete guess, because the exam is positively graded. In other words, correct answers add to your score. You think of it as, I'm starting from 0, and my mission is to collect points. Every question I get right, I put some points into the bank. Which means if you get it wrong, nothing happens. If you don't answer it, you get it wrong, and nothing happens. In other words, there's no penalty for guessing. So make sure you answer everything, and the exam gives you visual clues and pop-ups like this to ensure that you don't skip any. Next up, this is part of time management. I call it Testlet triage. Triage is this idea of, I may not be able to spend every minute that I wish I could doing everything. So I've got to use my time for the best effect possible, for the most impact possible. When we're dealing with the CPA exam, you may come across multiple choice questions as you're working through it where you go, ooh, that's going to take some time. That's going to be a more involved calculation. That's going to be an above average question in terms of how long it's going to take. Or it's a question where you say, yeah, I'm trying to weigh whether B or C is the better answer and I'm really battling over this one. Sometimes the best answer is skip the question and come back to it. Make sure you hit those questions where you can efficiently move through them and say, oh, it's C. Oh, it's B. There's no doubt in my mind. I've looked at all the answers. I've read through the question. I've done everything. I am certain. Good. Get through those first. Then work on the ones that may be more time consuming or you're less certain about. Again, you're starting from 0 and you're collecting points, which means you're trying to get the points as efficiently and effectively as you can within the 4 hours. There is no rule that says you have to go in order, so don't feel compelled to do so. Next, sometimes multiple choice are what I call 2x2s. 2x2s are effectively, they're not answering with one answer. They're actually asking you effectively 2 separate questions. And if you look at it that way, you can always look at it as, well, at least if I can answer one of them, I've reduced my odds. It's now a 50-50 proposition. I've told students over the years that if you can walk out of the CPA exam and you say, Mike, I got half right. I am absolutely certain. I go, great. What'd you do for the other half? And you say, well, I eliminated 2 answer choices. And I'm certain the 2 I was left with, one of them was right. And then I had a quarter and I flipped it. If you did that, mathematics, statistics, probability tells us you got 3/4 right because half you got right for sure and half you got a 50-50 chance and you flipped a coin. So sometimes winning the war of beating a part of the exam is just eliminating 2 answer choices because you're improving your odds. This is a classic. This question is talking about an impact on cost of goods sold, but it's really asking you a 2-part question. It's saying, well, is the impact of this first an overstatement or an understatement? So even if you're not quite sure about the calculation, you might be able to nail that down just conceptually and go, well, I know when this is understated, then this would be overstated. And then the second part is, what's the amount? You see why I call it a 2x2. There are 2 answers for the first part, overstated or understated. There are 2 answers for the second part, 26,000 or 78,000. If you can nail down one, you at least improve your odds. If you can nail them both, well, then you've got the answer. Lastly, this is kind of a spin on advice that I remember getting when I was working on preparing for my SAT exams back in high school. Beware absolutes, right? We're always warned with answer choices. Watch out for nevers, always, must, those kinds of things, right? Because absolutes and answers are tricky things, and a lot of times they're not right. Well, on the CPA exam, one of the things I watch out for are absolutes in the question. Notice here, it says, which of the following items is explicitly included? So that tells me, oh, the absolute here is it's explicit. If I'm writing this question and I want it to be as tricky as I can get it, I'm going to make sure the other 3 answers are implicit. That way, if you read all 4, you'd say, well, all of these are discussed in the audit opinion, but it's asking specifically. It says which one's explicit. I call this a 3 against 1 or a 3 versus 1 because in all likelihood, the 3 other answers are going to be good answers. They're going to be logical answers. They're even going to make sense. They may even be saying in effect the right things, but only one, the 3 versus the 1, only one is going to be explicit in the audit opinion. So watch out for those absolutes. Another classic is, which of the following is required? So there, the three other options may all be, well, they're optional. You're permitted to, you're allowed to, but only one of them is required to. So watch out for those absolutes or those very clear requirements in the question to help you break down the potential answers. All right. Well, hopefully some of those tips will stick in your mind and you'll remember them on exam day, and they'll help you work through those multiple choice just a little bit more efficiently and effectively. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks.